What is up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Camera Junkie livestream. My name's Luis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you, as always, to upgrade your skills before your gear. And today, that really means something special. So, if it's your first time here, welcome. Please be sure to introduce yourself to the crew so you can get the nice Camera Junkie crew welcome. And you might even see your comment on screen. So, please be sure to do that. Also, a reminder to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done it, and do all the YouTubery things. I always tend to forget those things, so when I can remember, it's a good thing. So go ahead and do that if you haven't done so already. And as tradition goes around here, the first thing that we go and do is check out to see who are the first members of the crew hanging out in the chat. So let's go ahead and do that. Bam. I love this song. And first, we have Parker Jennings in the house saying hello to everyone. How are you, sir? As always, Mr. Moderators waving in. What's up? We got Randy in the house saying hello to everyone. He might be dipping out early as tradition goes and, catching the replay. We got Kathy here as well saying hello to all. And Paul saying hi to everybody. Randy saying hi back to Paul. And, the live stream commences. Now, today, I named today's episode from Nifty 50 to Fantastic Plastic, right? And it's a little bit of a wordplay because a lot of times the lens that I'm talking about gets called the same exact thing. The Nifty 50, a classic lens that I've had for a long time from when I used to shoot my Canon cameras. It was the 50mm f1.4, and its build was mostly plastic, so it's called the Fantastic Plastic, right? Because it was the one upgrade above the 1.8, which is usually like the cheapest entry level prime lens that you can get your hands on, which is the 50mm f1.8 from Canon. But this one is one that takes like a step up, and it was just one of my favorite lenses. This lens is so good in my opinion, and always has been, that even though people rant and rave over the Canon L series f1.2 50mm, unless you were dealing with a really old camera, right? Like one of the original digital like SLRs from Canon itself, where you probably had maxed out ISO 1600 for just photography itself, I could understand needing that extra like stop of light from the extra aperture if you're like an event photographer and you're dealing with a lot of low light to get proper exposure. But most of the time, and like when I started using them again, basically they weren't really necessary to be all the way to the f1.2, and those, in my opinion, were also harder to focus because you really needed to nail focus on the camera because you had such a small focal plane at f1.2. So f1.4 gives me a little bit more leadway and still crush the backgrounds in bokeh, in blur, that gives it that 3D pop, especially into photography. So hands down, always one of my favorite lenses. But once I moved to Sony, it was one of the lenses that I kept, and unfortunately the lens took damage, and for a while it had been broken. So I had just been using it kind of like a manual lens, and that's it. But because it's a digital lens, it has a digital aperture, so once the connection got lost, it was basically useless. So I still had it around here in sentimental value, and good thing that I did, because this comes full circle with a lot of the things, which is why I had said upgrade your skills before your gear. Why? Because one of the skills that I was able to upgrade is my CAD design skills. So that's something that I've been able to implement with 3D printing, and with my engineering mind, I've been able to make a lot of things. And this week's project was to make a PL lens, so to speak, or a rehousing. So what came to mind was the fact that I had this Canon 50mm f1.4 that basically was just the element groups set up, and that's it. So I took the entire lens apart and I started making some modifications. One of the first ones was that I took out the motors that were connected to the aperture ring and kind of just left a little control module, so to speak, to allow me to open and close the aperture and taking all electronics away. But that's where the challenge for this lens rehousing and this project that I decided to do came into play, because if you're dealing with a manual lens, it's kind of set up to have the focusing and the aperture separate so that you could adjust them separately. Because this was a digital lens and that was all part of the unit, the aperture moved along with the elements. So unfortunately for me, that meant that I didn't have the ability to make this rehousing completely internal, so to speak, where I was able to create a PL lens mount and then just have the internal elements moving back and forth. Because if I did it that way, I would have no control over the aperture, because it was designed to be electronic and built into the center of it and not on the back where I could actually make it separate. So because of it, there was some modifications that I had to make, and I was able to successfully do them. And now I would like to show you the final product. So let's go to the top down shot. Got a lot of stuff here, so pardon the mess, but this is what I was able to create over this week. And this is a PL mount Canon EF 1.4. You can see aperture control, and this is where the design actually had to come to play, because to keep the aperture control in sync with the lens itself, and mind you, all of this is 3D printed, even even the lens cap. Man, it's just, I have so much fun with this. This is what we're looking at. But like I said, to keep the aperture ring and everything being able to be controlled from the outside, like I said, the aperture ring and control had to move with all of the elements. So I just built the housing around it, and the way that you focus it manually is basically once it's mounted, the back end separates. And that's it. That's little like 6mm gap there goes from infinity focus to very close up. And that is basically all she wrote. So now you might be asking yourself, Luis, why are you making a PL lens when you have a bunch of Sony cameras? Well, that's the other part of this story. About a couple of years ago, Doc Rock had gifted a couple of red cameras to our friend Tom Buck. And Tom was able to get one of these successfully up and running, but didn't have the time and maybe even the parts for, completing the second one. And mostly the time, he also asked Doc Rock if it was okay to send me the second camera. And once Doc approved, because why wouldn't he? Tom so graciously sent me this camera, and I've been trying to put the pieces together little bit by little bit, but I didn't even know if this camera was working at all. Now, let me bring into picture the camera that I'm talking about. Is that pretty good in the shot? There you go. That's a good shot right there. It looks a mess, but that's okay. So now, This camera that was gifted me is a red one, and one of the first ever made. I'm very fortunate. It's got a lot of history in it, making a lot of movies that you've probably seen. So I got my hands on it, and I wasn't sure if it was working at all. It didn't have a battery. The charging unit was all messed up. A bunch of different things that this thing was like needed to be worked on. I wasn't even sure because there's some electronics like right up here in the front that weren't connected, and I didn't even know if that was going to be necessary to get this to work. So, seeming that I have mostly Sony cameras, I wasn't sure if I was going to invest in a PL lens, and they usually start like around $700, and I didn't want to like purchase something and then return it if I really wasn't going to keep it. So that's when I was speaking with Mr. Brendan Washington earlier this week. He was setting up his office, and we were just on a call, and like the whole subject came up of the PL lens and everything like that, and then it just hit me. I'm like, I'm talking smack over here. Why am I not trying to put like the skills that I've acquired in CAD and my 3D printers and everything, to the test? And I go, you know what? Let me try to see what I can come up with, especially that I have this like the internals of this 50mm lens. So let me see what I can do with it. And that's when I came up with this. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go back on the top down because I'm gonna show you it's a pretty like simple design, right? And everything else is just kind of like aesthetics and design. But I'm gonna take it apart to show you exactly how I came up with this design. So let's go ahead, go back to the top down. The back end of the elements and the focus module here is just press fit. So even though it's in here, I'll be able to just take it off because it is literally just press fit onto that side. And the one thing that's actually keeping it in place is just this one screw here that's controlling the aperture. So I'll go ahead and just remove this screw. And as soon as this screw comes out, you can see that the elements just fell right out. So this was basically the two-part design, and I first started with this. Actually, to be more sincere, as you can see, I have a couple of iterations rolling around here. The first one I started with was this, right? And this is a two-part design. I first started with the PL mount itself, right? Make sure that all the dimensions were fine and that it could fit and hold snug. Then the next thing I did was just add these little nubbins on the inside. I'm not sure if we can see that. Yeah, that's a good shot there. Okay. Once I added that, I then created the internal, which I knew had the same size as the back side here, so that I could press fit. And then I cut out these grooves to give it the spinning and moving forward and coiling action. I first had initially placed it like this, but what kept happening was that it got to a point where, if I did it too much, it would like backtrack, as you can see, and just disconnect, right? Which had probability of it falling out. Luckily, I did not cut it out all the way to the end, and I was able to put it in through the backside, which kind of created its own like stopping mechanism. So now it wouldn't go past that. So having it in reverse and being press fit, once it got to the back end and it hit the housing, it wouldn't go, so it kept everything there. I then, got the sizes correct, which gave me the final PL mount of the correct size. So that's the final copy of it. So that's how I started. And I basically just had this on the camera and moving it side to side to get the correct distance back and forth of the lens. I was able to see that I got the lens to focus, and I was able to get an image on the camera. So that was step one. And I was like, okay, the camera is working. And now I could invest in a lens if I wanted to, but now I was like kind of hung up on trying to get this to work. So At this moment, I still hadn't fixed the aperture mechanism here. And what I ended up doing, which I'll show you as well, was I created a ring on the inside. Now I could take out the screws to show you, but that would just be too much of a pain. So basically the little nubbin, so to speak, or the little stick that gave me aperture control, I just made a ring that fits around it. And I learned my lesson, because you see this extra part, I had to create a separate washer just so that it could actually rotate smoothly, because even though the dimensions were correct, right, this is just the things that you learn in engineering, it was getting hung up on just basically everything there. As soon as I placed that thin little washer there and gave it a smooth surface, and also being the same type of plastic to basically rub against, this became smooth as butter, allowing me to have control over the aperture so easy. And that's when I said, you know what, even though this is a prototype design, I'm gonna go ahead and just use this because it started working so well. So I measured the distance, right, of like the angle to see how far I had available space. I centered it, and then I put one of these heat insert rivets. Now, because this was just basically a prototype part, it wasn't really structured on the inside correctly to take that little like brass insert, so it kind of melted everything through, which is a good thing that I had bought my, what is it, the 3D printer pen. Here, let me show you, because this guy right here. So this is a 3D printer pen, and I use it for like repairs. You know, it's got a ceramic tip that a lot of times I just heat up, and I iron things out just to smoothen out certain surfaces. So if you're into 3D printing and you don't have one of these, I highly recommend it. But as you can see, the filament that I had preloaded was white. I wasn't gonna get into whole like unloading and reloading when I knew it was gonna be internal parts. So what I did was I just turned it on. As you can see, I just kind of infilled the gaps that in this hollow piece surrounding that rivet or the insert, and now that's in there secure with enough plastic melted around it that it wasn't going to go anywhere, giving me the confidence to actually put a screw into it like so. And now once again giving me the aperture control. So now that I had aperture control and I had my focus mechanism, the next step was creating the housing, which basically I just kind of reversed engineered, and as you can see, just got really nerdy with it. Now this is just a standard focus ring that I had a file for, so I 3D printed this as well in TPU, which is kind of like a rubbery material, so that's still able to be used with a like focus puller, which is also why I made it extra thick, because I knew the amount of travel that it would take even if we were going to be using a manual focus pulling mechanism. So that was the design. And the first iteration that I did, you know, once I got everything in, I realized that I had to add these little like nubs on the side that were going to stick into this groove, so that whenever I would rotate the outside, it would rotate the lens itself. Because what ended up happening because of the press fitting was that when I would go to rotate this housing, it would just spin on itself and then move the aperture cutout that I had set up there. But once I got the grooves in, got them aligned to sit into these slots right here, so now whenever I move the housing, it's moving the lens part itself, which is connected press fit to that piece, allowing just the mount itself here on the back to stick onto the camera, giving me a successful rehousing of this 50mm f1.4. And I'm ecstatic because it was my first shot at doing any of these rehousings, but this is just a proof of concept that, you know, like upgrading your skills and putting the work into yourself and into your ideas could give you a positive outcome. And now I have a working lens excuse me, that not only is functioning but aesthetically looks okay. You know, it's fitting. Now, I'm really excited for it. And now once again we're going to get to the rebuilding or the rehousing of this lens. So, first thing, we're just going to drop this in the center. Don't get stuck now. Come on. You can do it. You gotta get it right, because if not, here we go. All right, he's being a biatch right now. There we go. And as soon as it goes in, now everything fits perfectly. Excuse me. Okay, before I even put in the screw, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold the insides of the lens. We're just gonna press fit that nice and snug. So now, as you can see, back and forth, there's no play with the elements, but we can rotate back and forth. And now I'm just gonna find the groove or the insert. And we have my first successful rehousing. And now that's gonna take me down to the next rabbit hole. Let me see what you guys are saying. Larry D. Williams II says, get some cheap FD primes, rehouse them too. Oh, that's a really good idea, man. Gretchen's in the house saying, hello, everyone. Says he gave me a red one. Yes, I am very fortunate. A red one, and like, it's like one of the first 20. I think it's number 14. So like 14th red one ever made from the original reds. It's just like I was telling my father once I got this camera working, I was like, you gotta understand, this is like owning a Lamborghini. Like, sure, it's a Countach from the 80s, but it's still a Lamborghini, you know, like it's a red. So I officially own a working red camera. But let's take it step by step. So okay, we got the lens going, and now I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on the camera. And as you can see, it looks good, and I made it size appropriate for the camera that's on there. But this was the next problem, that this outlet, actually, let me show you. HDMI port out to the monitor, right? This is the next thing. I said, that's cool because my monitor has an HDMI out, so whichever feed it can take, it can pump out, and then I can connect it directly to Ecamm and use it like as my live streaming camera, right? Isn't that a flex, right? To have a red one as my live streaming camera. I was like, let's go. But this is where the problem ensues. The output of the HDMI maxes out at 720p, and that's the max HD that you can get because it's designed for a monitor, and because this is a cinema camera, it was designed to record in high quality, not broadcast. So I'd probably be able to get a higher output directly out of SDI, or probably like the full width of the HD, but I don't own that type of system, and I'm not sure if I want to get into, you know, like trying to connect SDI. So I tried to figure out what alternatives I had and how I could use this camera. And that's when it leads me to this right here. So this is the side panel on the other side of the camera. This is where the memory module, or what they call the red mag, would go into. Now, if you start looking for red one mags online on eBay, not only are they small capacity, but they're also still very expensive because it's a proprietary system. And if you don't have any choice and you need to use it just to make use of an older camera, then they're gonna charge you what they're gonna charge you on the eBays. Let me get something to drink. So I saw the type of connection is the CF card. I think it was still called CF Express, but it was the like first generation. You know, it's an older camera. So I also seen that there was 4 screws there, so I took those out and looked at what was behind the box, and this is what we found. Right now, let me go back to the top overhead shot. This is the internals of the red one, like mag system. So this is, I believe it's like a 64 pin layout for that CF Express card. But then right here, you might recognize that that's just the standard SATA hard drive connection, power, and and the connection itself. So that got me to think. I go, that is the same connection as a hard drive. What happens if I connect an SSD to it? So that led me to Amazon, which gave me the next step, which is I found the most inexpensive SSD cartridge, and 256 gigs turned out to being $17, and it shipped overnight. As soon as it got in, I didn't even connect it to a computer whatsoever. I ripped it right out of the box, connected it to that SATA connection, and turned on the camera, and it said, "Would you like to format this drive?" And I was like, absolutely. Clicked it, let the camera do its reformatting thing, and I now had a red mag, unofficial. So what it did is that it doesn't give you the full 2.5K out of the camera. It minimizes you to 2K, which is more than adequate, especially for the higher bit rates, and once again, being a cinema camera. So the fact that now I had media that I could record to it, I left it as that and said, you know what, it's a cinema camera, not a live streaming camera. If in the future I can get something like SDI to get full HD, then we'll mess with it then. But as of right now, it's good for what it is. And now I'm gonna show you what I came up with. Now it's here in white, you can see, but we have the SSD, and this is a Team Group Vulcan Z solid state drive, $17 SSD, and as you can see, has the same pin connections that I was talking about. So I was able to come up with the idea and first started with making the layouts. Do I have the once again put my CAD skills to work, and I first started with the first iteration, which is a like skeleton hollow, just making sure that the screws were in place, and I had a cutout right with the design that was gonna allow me to slide the hard drive in like pretty deep. As you can see, I need to just leave something to be able to yank out, because it could take it completely and still have space for the connection. So this was the plan. But once I put it onto the camera and I put the screws through these 2 holes, I recognized that the drive was not going to get past the screws. So I had to redesign, which was iteration number 2. As you can see, I closed off those loopholes so The hard drive stops right there, and then I started making measurements of the connections here, because what I did is that I had gone to Amazon and I ordered this piece, which basically is just a hard connector, right? So it's gonna take the same connections that you have there, right, and give me two posts to be able to screw it down, so that then when I come in with the hard drive on this end, locks in, right? But it allows the pressure to be placed here and not on the cables itself, allowing me to close it in. So the plan was to just basically insert that to the inside of this chassis, which is exactly what we have here, right? Once I threw it on here, back to it, right? Once I threw it back here and saw that it was successful, everything works, that's when I took it to the final stage, which was full out design. And even though this is the original, this is my final product. And this is my skill set of what I was able to do. I was able to remake this part in complete PLA. It's not metal, it is plastic, but this gives me the advantages because, as well, that up top here, I was able to create those posts there that are going to allow me to once again put in these brass inserts with screws, so that then I can place the connection and lock it down, then throw it into the camera and have the logo done correctly and set. So let's go ahead and do that together. I'm gonna get my soldering iron and we're gonna drop these inserts right here, and we're gonna finalize putting the black red cover, that sounded weird, the black red camera cover on the side. So we're gonna do it in real time. This is how we're gonna do it. This is something that I got for, I think it was $15 or $17 on Amazon. Basically a insert soldering iron on a little mechanism so that they always go straight down. So it just makes it super easy to put this here, put that on there, and get them inserted. Let's see which is the best view. Yep, let's do it like that. I'm gonna put up the music in it just for the time being. Get a faster pace song here. Where's my mouse? There it is. See, that was fast. I didn't do my best on one of them. I try to just scrape out the plastic that came over on top. Oh, still a little malleable. I have to grab my other soldering iron. Camera tinkering live. It should be there in no time. It's just so surprising how much we can do with the things that we have at our disposal. With a creative mind, Amazon, no lie, like the fact that you can get a soldering iron for like 20 bucks and it is so much better like than the soldering irons that I worked with in my youth, like the ones that I used to get from Radio Shack, which, don't get me wrong, they were amazing soldering irons, but they would take forever to heat up. They were just way more dangerous, and you didn't have control over temperature. Now I can set the temperature. I can turn it on at a flick of a switch. Exact control, complete control, and it like heats up and cools down in no time. And that was like $15 on Amazon. That's what's just like bonkers to me right now, how like easy we got it. All right, so let me see here. I need to scrape off some plastic here. Let's see what we. What I'm doing is actually just removing some of the plastic from the inside of the, forgot the name of it, the insert, because we need to give the screw some space to actually like get into the insert itself. Unfortunately, when I melted the inserts, the plastic surrounding it kind of like filled the crevice, so I'm kind of emptying that out right now manually. Lessons learned. Probably gonna make that the hole a little bit bigger in the CAD design. I wanted a more upbeat song, and the slowest of slow jams pops up next. Okay. Okay, so the first screw took. All right, let's see if I can fix the second one here. That's what I get for doing this live, right? Because you know what? Can't get everything to go smoothly. Let's throw a bit of a monkey wrench. Okay. That's looking a lot cleaner. As you can see the entirety of the insert. Let's try the screw. Success. Bam. All right. And with that, let's see if we can take this off a lot easier. Fitting that this song comes on, seeming that this came from Doc. As you can see, it's just a basic SATA hard drive connection. And this is the prototype of what we got going on right here. This one just has the logo. Oh, I'm doing this. Should be showing the overhead rate of me actually doing it. What am I saying here? Didn't it? Yeah. Finally. All right. Nice and tight. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. Oh, there we go. Let's go ahead and make sure that, bam, and that's the inside. Now, my idea for the future is to actually show you, right? I've actually done this already. The inside of a lot of these SSD drives are empty and or basically like dead space. Show you what I'm talking about. The 256 gig hard drive really doesn't need to be this big. That's so that it can fit correctly the majority of most hard drive or laptop cases, and so that's what it's made for. So me understanding that, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to jump into CAD once again, and I'm gonna remake this into a little micro red mag, right? Basically just cut it in half, and I'm probably gonna put a couple of like inserts, or not, well, how would you say inserts? Basically like pull tabs where on the end it just like flares outward so that it'll be easier to like remove. You see now the connection's there, and once I connect it to the connections on the camera, put it in, we're good to go. And this is my retrofit red one. All right, so let's finish that up. Let's go back over here. All the slow jams today, right? And there we go. Now, quick swap mags. $256 gigs, 3D printed lens housing. And the last thing that I'm going to do, well, is 3D print a holder for the XLR. Yeah, that looks about right. So that's gonna be probably next week's project if I can hold off on not making it that long. But I'm having a lot of fun, and now I have a working retrofitted Red 1 camera. I'm officially a Red owner. And we did it, guys. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Oh, you're looking at it, Logan. He says, "Yo, hope you do. What have you been shooting lately?" My new old red one. My rehoused 50 millimeter f1.4, and yeah, let's finish putting it together to show you exactly how I have it right now. I 3D printed that rod because why not? These are 19 millimeters. I didn't have anything in that size. So I have a D-tap to my mini V-mount battery. I have my port keys monitor. I have my new retrofit hard drive or red mag drive mod and my 50 millimeter lens. Right. So let's go ahead and power this on. Turn this port keys. Can we see this? You really can't tell the details there, but maybe if I were to stop it down, they'll think it's just too small. It's still initializing. But now, with this setup, I'm not limited to 720p. I'm able to record in 2K high definition resolution. And I believe it's 14-bit. But it's Red R3D. So it's giving me the full raw files from Red. See, it says the CF Express has not been speed verified and you could only do 2K instead of the 2.5, which I'm like, absolutely, just as long as it works. So we hit OK. And now we have our official Red camera, man. And as you can see, it's a simple rudimentary design on my lens, but it works. That's completely in focus. I can punch in to, you know, double check focus. And then more importantly, we can record. So this is a fully functioning like Red One camera. And with the history and the lineage of this camera, I am just super pleased that I was able to get this 100% up and running. And like I said, I want to cut this mag in half so it doesn't stick out so much and give it a flare to make it easier to detach. Once that's done, I'll be working on the microphone aspect to just connect the XLR to it. And that's it. It's up and running, ready to go, and ready to film a project on it. What am I going to get myself into? I don't know, but I'm having a lot of fun with this right now. The possibilities are endless. All right. Andrew Seal is in the house saying, hello. I love it. Gretchen says, I remember getting a soldering iron for Mother's Day present sometime around 1992. Wow, look at that. All right, so now for those of you who were here last week and know what we were going to get ourselves into. Oh, and by the way, also, yeah, I'm proud of this lens cap. Like, my first lens cap and snug fit. That's 2 for 2, but I digress. Okay. I had mentioned to you guys last week that I had planned to get the kitchen shot. And if you saw the beginning, even though I didn't talk about it, we did successfully get that. So let's go ahead and move over to that shot. And this is the kitchen shot. So what we're looking at here right now is my Sony A7C Mark II. Okay, but what I have attached to it is my Quantaray 135 to 400 millimeter lens. Now, this is right now at 135 millimeters. If I punch anything even closer to that, you're seeing like my pupil, because it's a hell of a telephoto lens. But it's at f4.5, which is its maximum aperture right now, so it's at its widest. And we're being connected via HDMI to my MacBook Air, which is sitting there at the bottom. And what I did was just connect via interview mode, which is the easiest way to be able to get a wireless signal, in my opinion, to the setup. That was until what we learned today with Rode video capture and NDI, which is just mind-boggling. Let me explain. In today's Go Group meeting, speaking with Doc Rock, somebody was mentioning that they were having problems with their NDI camera capture, and that's what they were used to using with their phones. So we quickly fell down a quick rabbit hole of trying to figure out what are different options or different ways of doing it. And what we found out was that the Rode video capture application on your phone, if you haven't downloaded it, I highly recommend it. Let me show you what it looks like. Back to the overhead, which is this guy right here, the Rode Capture. And this Rode Capture app is a video capture app, but what it does is that it gives you the ability to do dual camera. But at the same time, right here, you have the ability to go NDI. So you're able to cast the NDI. So now that it's here, I actually see this on as my source in my eCam. We go into live demo mode so you can see. And over here, right here says Rode Capture Stream A, right? And that's that. Now, going back to the overhead, right? Well, yeah, just turn this off real quick. Here we have the ability to hit dual camera. So if I hit dual camera and I do picture in picture, it resets, right? And now it's giving me the front facing camera and the rear facing camera. So as you can see, like kind of there, it's in the teleprompter. If we go back into the live demo mode, now here in the window, I have Capture Stream A and Capture Stream B. So it's doing the front facing and the rear facing. So you have the ability to capture both of them in real time. Even though coming in from interview mode on a different laptop machine is pretty cool, the easiest way to get, a NDI capture is going to be this manner. It's super easy. Turn on the application, make sure that your NDA is on, and in eCam, you'll be able to use that. So if I go over here to my producer view, right, which has got no bells and whistles, it gives me the ability to select any of these sources. So if I just click it, that becomes the main source, right? My overhead, that becomes the main source. And now right here, this is the rear of my iPhone. That becomes a source where you've seen the teleprompter and everything like that, my behind the scenes. But then at the same time, I can click this one, which is my face. So I'm using the camera and it's using both of them, and it's being streamed wirelessly. So this, if you haven't looked into it, highly recommend. This could be the easiest way for you to use your phone with Ecamm so that you can record. And if you got one of the newer ones, this is 4K 30 full high definition coming in from the front facing camera and the rear facing camera. And this is just amazing what we can do with these amazing machines on our phones, especially this being iPhone week. So let's go ahead and do that. And let me not get you full of nausea there. But the power of these devices, man, and this NDI capture in the Rode app, in the Rode Capture app, and it's free, because a lot of the times that we've been using NDI, a lot of us had paid for NDI from a long time ago, from years ago, before we were able to get it like that. So if you haven't gotten it and you're looking to do so, download the free Rode Capture app, and then you have a free NDI connected to your Ecamm. Super easy. All right, so we've done it. Okay, I was a bit late, so thank you for your patience, guys, but we also ran a bit late, so we made up for the time. But let's go back to the main shot over here. A shot over here, perfect. And now what we're gonna do is close it out with Cities Gaw, channels that I think you should go and watch. And that shouldn't be there. Oh, let's go ahead and do that. We should be able to move there. And there we have it, Mr. Brady Bassett. Now, I was first made aware of Mr. Brady Bassett through an interview that Mr. Brandon Washington had on his channel way before he got completely hooked on the live streaming, kind of like more of a pre-recorded content. But nonetheless, I was able to be made aware of this said individual, and this week I will share him with you. He's an amazing filmmaker. He's, as you can see, he's got a lot of great information, and he's got a lot of great insights. He's an active working professional, so that's always going to give you a completely different insight. He's just not a content creator, but we're lucky enough that he shares content with us. And he's as you can see, a camera junkie. Obviously, he basically is going to shoot with anything and everything, and he's bit brand agnostic just the same. So that's this week's Cities Gaw, channels that I think you should go and watch, none other than Mr. Brady Bassett. And if you haven't checked him out, let me be the first one to introduce you to him. And that's it, guys, we did it. So let's go ahead and just come right to it. This was episode 251. 251 consecutive episodes of the Camera Junkie live stream without skipping a beat. Yep, we're really sneaking up on 5 years of this, and I'm just super excited. I think we should do something really big, but I have a lot on my plate. I just hope that October is just a bit easier for me, just the same. So I'll be looking forward to that. But good things to come down the pike. One thing that I did want to mention for some of you who might not know, I am not going to be able to make creator camp, so I do want to wish everyone that's making their way over there and going to be over there to have the most fun in my honor, so to speak, because I'm really going to be having some serious FOMO. But I am in a season of caretaking for my father and child, and it's something that I'm also very grateful that I get to do. So I'm very thankful to you who also allow me to do what I am passionate to do and somehow make money that allows me to caretake for my family in their times of need. So I want to thank you because I'm highly, highly grateful and very appreciative of the things that I'm able to do. And all has to do with you guys hanging out here with me and doing something as simple as hitting the like button. I know you have already, but for those of you who are just watching it on the backhand, make sure you hit the like button. It's highly appreciated. And that's it. And we're gonna be setting up for next week. I really like the long lens, man. The thing came out. It looks good. I just love it. As you can see, add a little bit of like foreground bokeh, right? That's no, that's not foca, but similar. So that little edge right there, add that to give more depth. But I absolutely love how this lens looks. So today, it's funny, Mr. Jarrell Peak didn't show his rear end around here, but today was the day of Canon lenses. We have the Canon over here, the 135, and then we have the rehousing of this bad boy, the 50mm f1.4. Man, that thing looks good even there, right? Look at that. Look at that, brother. I'm gonna change my profile picture, but I'm ecstatic. More than anything, that as I always say, as a camera junkie, upgrade your skills before your gear. And I'm glad that I was able to use my skills to upgrade my gear and now fix a camera and get it up and running that wouldn't be doing so otherwise. So that really, like, I love being able to take something that somebody would consider junk and make it the best it can. So that's a lot of fun. So all right, that's it. Andrew has something he's saying here. Does long lens from outside through the window would be fun? It would be, but I'm on the second floor, so it wouldn't be fun because it'd be falling, right? It would be like, no, my lens. No, I wish I could get it further, but that's like the max stretch. The most that I can get is basically like the end of the kitchen, right? As far as the stand allows me to go. So as far as I can go, and this is kind of like the end wall, and that's the balcony outside. So that's about as long as I can get it. So 135, and that is, yeah, full frame. So no APS-C pull here. But that's it, you guys. All right. Thank you as always. So guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure to mark it down on your calendars. Every single week we do this live stream without skipping a beat. This is episode 251. So next week 252, and that's just on our way to 264, I believe, because 264 would be the 5-year mark, which is just incredible how 5 years have just blown by. But as always, I want to thank you guys who make this possible and make this my favorite place to be week in and week out. So take care of yourselves and each other. Mark down on your calendars, set a reminder, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that you can make your set way here. Mr. Andrew says, balcony. Yep. Yeah, there's a balcony right out here. Let's see if you guys can bust that out a bit. You might see some cars driving by. See them there? So that's the balcony, second floor. Really liking the new space. The difference is, and I'll leave you guys with this, is that in my previous place, I kind of started with nothing and I built everything out according to the layout. This place, I'm still trying to figure things out because there's more space, but the layout is so different that, like, it's less cohesive, and that's where I'm at, like, trying to piece everything together in my mind to create the sections where I can say, hey, you know what, a place for everything and everything in this place. Right now, I'm still having trouble for finding a place for everything, if that makes sense. So that's it. Guys, take care of yourselves and each other. And I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces while we do it all over again right here. Same time, same place on the Mr. Camera Junkie YouTube channel. So until then, yeah, I think I said everything and I think I haven't missed anything. So with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Talk to you. I just wanted to say what's up to Steven Wixie because I see him coming in late. And get Ecamm if you haven't gotten it. You see, for some reason, I'm gonna promote it.